Imagine finding it. The one thing that could rewrite the entire story of human evolution. In a quiet corner of East Sussex, England, that's exactly what they thought had happened. For over 40 years, the world celebrated Piltdown Man as the missing link between ape and man. But this celebrated ancestor was a total lie, an elaborate fraud built from a human skull and a modified orangutan jaw, specifically designed to fool the greatest scientific minds of the day. This is the story of the greatest scientific hoax of the 20th century, and the lingering mystery of who pulled it off. Section 1. The setup. So, how on earth did this happen? To get it, you have to rewind to the early 1900s. It was a thrilling time of scientific discovery, but also of fierce national pride. The theory of evolution was still pretty new, and the search for the missing link was the holy grail for the new science of paleoanthropology. And national prestige was absolutely on the line. Germany had its Neanderthal fossils. France had Cro-Magnon man. But Great Britain, the intellectual home of Charles Darwin himself, had nothing. There was a real hunger for a huge, game-changing discovery on British soil. At the time, the leading theory was that the very first step in human evolution was developing a big, complex brain. Scientists fully expected to find an ancestor with a human-like skull and more primitive, ape-like features somewhere else. This brain-first idea was deeply embedded in the scientific consensus. It was this burning desire for a specific kind of ancestor, a British one with a big brain, that set the stage perfectly for a deception. The scientific community wasn't just ready for Piltdown Man, they were practically waiting for him. Section 2, the discovery. And that's when Charles Dawson enters the picture. A country lawyer by trade, Dawson was a well-known and respected amateur fossil hunter. In 1912, he sent a letter to Arthur Smith Woodward, the prestigious keeper of geology, at the British Museum, with some sensational news. Dawson claimed that, over several years, he had found pieces of a remarkable skull in a gravel pit near the village of Piltdown. That summer, Dawson and Woodward started digging together, and their discoveries were astonishing. They found more pieces of a cranium that was undeniably human-like, with a large brain capacity. Then came the masterstroke, a piece of a lower jaw. The jawbone had been cleverly modified to look more human, but its most convincing feature was two molar teeth, which showed the flat wear pattern you'd expect from a human diet. To complete the picture, they also found primitive-looking stone tools, and the fossilized remains of extinct animals, all suggesting the find was incredibly old. Woodward was completely sold. He painstakingly pieced the skull together and, at a landmark meeting of the Geological Society of London in December 1912, announced the discovery of Eoanthropus dawsoni, Dawson's Dawn Man. It was the perfect missing link. It had the large, human-like brain scientists had predicted, combined with the primitive jaw they expected. And best of all, it was British. The discovery was a global sensation, and Charles Dawson became a star. Section 3, Initial acclaim and growing doubts. For years, Piltdown Man was treated like a scientific rock star, celebrated in textbooks and museums worldwide as critical evidence for human evolution. It confirmed the prevailing British theory that our brains led the way in our evolution. Sir Arthur Keith, one of Britain's most famous anatomists, called the discovery remarkable. But almost right away, not everyone was convinced. A few scientists, especially in America and France, thought the combination of a perfectly modern, human cranium and a perfectly ape-like jaw was just too convenient to be true. They argued it was probably just the remains of two different creatures that got mixed up. But their doubts were mostly waved away by the sheer authority of the British scientific establishment. The influence of Piltdown Man was so powerful that it actually held back progress. When a genuinely groundbreaking fossil, the Tom child, was found in South Africa in 1924, it was largely ignored by many British scientists. The Tom child showed the opposite of the Piltdown model, It had a small, ape-like brain case, but its teeth and posture were moving toward human-like. It suggested our ancestors learned to walk upright before their brains got big. We now know this is correct, but because it totally contradicted Piltdown, this crucial discovery was sidelined, its acceptance stalled for years by the fake fossil. Section 4, The Expose. For over 40 years, Piltdown Man remained an awkward, but accepted part of the human family tree. Charles Dawson died in 1916, taking any secrets with him. But science kept advancing, and by the 1950s, new tools were about to crack the case wide open. In 1949, a geologist at the British Museum, named Kenneth Oakley, used a new method called fluorine dating. The idea is simple: bones soak up fluorine from groundwater over time, so fossils buried together should have similar fluorine levels. Oakley tested the Piltdown fragments, and the result was a bombshell. The human-like skull was maybe a few thousand years old at most, but the ape-like jaw had almost no fluorine at all. It was basically modern bone. They weren't from the same time period. That discovery opened the floodgates. In 1953, Oakley, along with anatomist Wilfrid Le Gros Clark and anthropologist Joseph Weiner, launched a full-scale investigation. They put the fossils under a microscope, and the ugly truth was laid bare. They saw clear scrape marks on the teeth, proving they'd been deliberately filed down to fake a human wear pattern. Then they looked at the deep brown color of the bones, which was thought to prove their great age. Chemical tests showed the staining was just a paint job, a superficial coating of an iron solution, and chromic acid to make the bones match the gravel. It was a complete fraud. The final analysis revealed Piltdown Man was a Frankenstein's monster, a human skull from the medieval era, the 500-year-old jaw of an orangutan, and even some chimpanzee teeth thrown in for good measure. The discovery that had fooled the world for 4 decades was just a carefully crafted hoax. Section 5, The Whodunit. With the what finally solved, the question became who. Who would pull off such an elaborate and damaging fraud? Suspicion immediately fell on Charles Dawson. He was the one constant, the man who just so happened to discover every single important fossil. As historians dug into Dawson's career, a disturbing pattern emerged. An investigation of his other collections revealed he was a serial forger, with evidence suggesting he faked at least 38 other discoveries. His motive seems to have been a desperate hunger for scientific fame, specifically to be elected a Fellow of the Royal Society, a prestigious honor he never achieved. Over the years, a whole gallery of other suspects has been proposed. They range from the plausible, like a disgruntled museum volunteer, to the truly outlandish, including Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, who lived near Piltdown and was a fossil enthusiast. But modern forensic analysis has pretty much closed the case. A huge review in 2016 used CT scans and DNA analysis to re-examine everything. The results were conclusive. The DNA showed the jaw and teeth all came from a single orangutan. More importantly, the modus operandi, the specific way the bones were broken, stained, and filled with putty, was identical across all the specimens. This consistent method strongly points to a single forger. Since Dawson is the only person linked to every single one of the finds, the evidence is overwhelming that he was the lone fraudster. He concocted the hoax, fooled the world, and died in 1916, leaving science to wrestle with his deception for another 37 years. The story of Piltdown Man is a shocking but fascinating chapter in the history of science. It's a tale of ambition, deception, and the relentless search for truth. If you enjoy untangling complex historical mysteries like this one, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation into the curious corners of the past. So what's the real legacy of this fake missing link? For 4 decades, Piltdown Man sent the study of human evolution down a dead-end street. It reinforced a false, Eurocentric story of our origins and directly led to genuine, vital discoveries from Africa being dismissed. The scandal was a huge embarrassment for the scientific community, and to this day, it's used by creationists and those who doubt evolution as proof of scientific dishonesty. But there's another way to see this story. The fact that the hoax was eventually exposed is powerful proof of the self-correcting nature of science. Theories, no matter how much we love them, have to stand up to the evidence. New technologies and rigorous re-examination ultimately brought the truth to light, even when it was uncomfortable. The Piltdown Man served as a brutal lesson in the dangers of confirmation bias, of brilliant scientists seeing what they desperately wanted to see, rather than what was actually there. Today, the fragments of Dawson's Dawn Man no longer represent a celebrated ancestor. Instead, they serve as a vital cautionary tale, a permanent exhibit in the Museum of Scientific Folly. They're a stark reminder to always be skeptical, to always test the evidence, and to let the facts, not our hopes or biases, tell the story of who we are and where we came from.